1. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the press conference, thepressconference.org. And we meet every Thursday from 11 a.m. Pacific time to around 5 p.m. Pacific time. We're kind of in, I'm just going to call it semi-casual mode for this week and probably next as we get our systems geared up to go back into production mode like we did on November 19th. And if you want to see what we did on November 19th, please go to thepressconference.org and find out all about it. And everyone is welcome at every press conference, regardless of whether you're scheduled to speak or present or not. If you just want to hang out and be part of the conversation, everyone's welcome here. And with that, we're going to go to the queue. We've got Sir Roland, followed by Julie, followed by Jamin, followed by Dan. Sir Roland, welcome back. Great to see you. And looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
Well, let me introduce myself, as you said. So, I am the 47th person trained in the world by Shivananda in yoga. 47th. There are now millions trained. The Vishnu Devanagara Shivananda organization now trains 10,000 a month. So I go way back. I'm a mystic. I live in an altered state. I had a big dream last night. The big dream was for me and for everyone. I need to actively work on saving the world. Now, number 2, I am one of the original 100 change agents. That means I know how to do it. You know, I hear Dan say, we got to bring everybody together. I know how to do it. Been doing it my whole life. 1,000 organizations. And I love Jamin. So, my focus is, number 1, climate change. Number 2 is the disease. Okay? Now, I saw yesterday and I said, oh my God, it's the age of Aquarius. We're coming into the age of Aquarius. Let the sunshine come in. This is expected. This has been predicted. So I'm very optimistic with Biden. Now, what can I do? I am transforming India, China, the Philippines, Africa. So I don't have much time to come here. I'm an old man. I'm supposed to be dead, honestly. I am. I was in a hospice. But I survived through prayer, through a whole plant-based diet. I've been a vegetarian since 18, but being a vegetarian almost killed me. Cheese. I was addicted to cheese at Whole Foods and salt. No more cheese, no more salt. So Silas, I don't know if I agree with you about India. China is 4 years ahead of us in terms of technology. Okay? India is projected by Singularity University as to be the number 1 to replace China by the end of the century. Who knows what'll happen? But Dan, I need to connect with you, Bader, and hear about your relationship with the University of Chicago. I've been connected with them since 1967. I lived there. I lived in Hyde Park. I lived across the street on Hawthorne, and was with the Jesuits there. And so I need to talk to you about that because the University of Chicago wants to get involved in my research in the Philippines. And what's missing here, and everybody else with Unity Earth And I got my daughter going on it. We'll see what she does or doesn't do. If she doesn't do it, what she's just met with Ben yesterday. If she doesn't do it, well, then I'll break through because I'm gonna go out kicking like a and so we must research our results. We must have hard, objective, outside results. The University of Chicago knows how to do that. They want to do it. And we also need to have evaluation, stories. Okay, and I'm just about done. So there. Um, so me, what I need to do is then I need to relate to everybody. The whole system, the Trumpites, they gotta trust me. So I'm objective. I don't vote. Okay? And I'm not done here. And so my job is to try to create solidarity among all in the system of the United States and the world. And my last phrase, following my friend Pope Francis, to transform the economy. No more US economy. So when I get it all together, it creates wholeness, healing, oneness. Colbean. Bye-bye.
Awesome. Thank you, Sir Roland. Love everything you're saying. Super exciting. And up next in the queue is my sister, Julie. Welcome back, Julie, and take it away.
Thank you, Jamin. I would like to introduce everybody to the Northwest Permaculture Convergence. And I've been involved with it since 2018. I live in a forest in Washington State. And so I wanted to know how to grow food. And so I found this thing on YouTube called Food Forest. Then I found this word called permaculture, and I found permies.org, and I started looking for local people because my whole online life for the last couple decades has been building community all over the world. Because like Sir Roland, I must save the earth. Like we all must. And it is a wonderful gift to be able to serve and to give. And I encourage the whole world to jump on the bandwagon, and we will empower you to serve with your gifts, whatever they are. So I want to introduce campfires. We did our very first 2020. We had never done a virtual permaculture convergence in the Northwest, meaning the Pacific Northwest of the United States. There are several permaculture groups in the state of Washington, and we are the Cascadia group. So we alternate between Oregon and Washington, and we usually we have done urban, we have done city permaculture convergences, and we have also, but mostly we've been on beautiful pieces of land and farms, and actually do some permaculture project while we're there on the land, and we move around to spread the goodness. So we go from place to place, and we alternate each year between Oregon and Washington. And I don't know what we're doing this year, 2021, because I suppose we would be due for, I've lost track. Washington, I guess? Yes, we were going to be at Tahali and Tahuya, 6 miles away from me in the Tahuya forest. And we had to do virtual for 2020, which was great because we could bring in the whole world. And so we've decided that since we could do that, why not have some online campfires until we can have physical ones? And so we're inviting people to come to topics twice a month that will be related to permaculture and everything permaculture like, people care, fair share, and earth care type topics that will probably be in the evenings. Our board meetings are 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, usually on Tuesdays. So these meetings will be on Thursdays, and they will probably be also at 6:30 Pacific time, but we're just finalizing it. So just want to seed your minds to come and join us around our campfires. The second Thursday will be a topic, and the fourth Thursday of each month will be a dialogue. So we get to just say, hey, I'm saving these seeds and I need some other seeds, and does anybody want to trade? Or I have some questions about biochar, or how to build life in my soil, or my goats or my chickens, or whatever the question is, this wonderful, unusual plant, food plant that nobody's ever heard of, or the mushrooms, whatever the topic might be, do it yourself, cleaners and home care products and body products, whatever the topic might be, we can dialogue on it on the fourth Thursday, and the second Thursday of every month will be a topic. And I'm not sure what the topics are yet, so I wanted to just go ahead and try this for the first time on the fly. And I'm on the board, sort of. I've definitely been supporting them for all these years. And with that, I will thank everybody for what I've heard so far. I too stayed up all night long to have solidarity with the country. Sigh. So I'm actually pulled into the dialogue a little bit, and I'm usually not at all involved in politics, but this is happening. I thank you, 2020. Thank you, Tiny Microbe, for bringing us together and letting us know that we can all be focused on the same thing. So let's do this. Let's have a brand new Earth in this brand new decade and create the world that we prefer. The more beautiful world that our hearts know is possible. Love you all. I'm done.
Wow. Beautiful, Julie. Thank you so much. And before I get on with the cue, I will mention editorially that Julie and I are working together on the systems to help make all this possible, from the standpoint of the press conference, the open houses, Snack Bar, the social network of actual conversations, where you can see all the different conversations that are happening in the different open houses, including a universal calendar, so that you don't have to like write down everything that Julie's saying. Oh, when did she say, right? And, you know, for all we know, maybe the meeting time or dates will change. You go to the universal calendar and it's all there, up to date, thanks to Julie and myself and Melanie and others who are contributing. So thank you, Julie, for that and for everything.
I just want to say, I loved listening to you, Julie, and magnificent everything you said. Beautiful, beautiful.
And I second the motion. And what a beautiful community we have here. Oh my goodness, just amazing. All right, so moving on with the queue. We've got Jamin next, followed by Dan, followed by Karen, followed by Diane. And if you want to get in the queue, just get my attention one way or another. Jamin, take it away. Don't mind if I do. All right, so I want to give a little bit of a recap briefly of what we were talking about earlier, and what we talk about quite a bit on this channel, which is 24/7. I'll say almost 24/7. You've heard of the show Almost Live. Well, we're almost 24/7 here, and we're definitely live. And there's really three pillars that are top of mind for me and for a number of folks here, and I invite them to make them your pillars as well. Me pillars, two pillars, and me pillars, two pillars, three pillars. So what are the three pillars? The first one is solar radiation management, SRM, cooling the planet by reflecting a significant portion of the sunlight that's landing on the Earth and heating up the Earth and heating up the oceans. Reflect it right back out into space. Right? Think of it as a dimmer switch for the sun, which we're able to apply very, very locally. right? And in the form of land-based and ocean-based mirrors and mirroring effects to reflect sunlight back into space that would otherwise heat up the planet. That is in stark contrast to drawdown, right? Which is yet another way to cool the planet. But whereas drawdown, the stuff we do today will have impacts over the course of decades and centuries, with SRM, what we do today will have immediate effect. And that is absolutely crucial. We are in a moment of exponential planetary overheating. It's the biggest existential threat you never heard of. And when I say you never heard of, I'm not talking to the people in this room, I'm talking to the people outside this room who've never heard of it and don't know how urgent it is. So, which brings me to the next pillar, which is seemingly unrelated, and that is the pillar of feeding everyone plant-based foods. I see a very profound and direct relationship between the two as follows. And this is after years of contemplation and conversation, including with many of the folks in this room. And with Dan Bader, it literally goes back years. And thank you, Dan, for hanging in there with us. The connection that I see is metaphorically and in a very real way, we are trapped in an all-day Monopoly game. Think of a bunch of 10-year-old kids just there, just engrossed in the game. And they can't even look outside the window or contemplate going for a hike or a swim or gardening or anything that's really wholesome, because they're just laser focused on winning and beating and dominating. Yes, you landed on my property, you owe me. And it's really good training to become a sociopath. And until we liberate ourselves, these little kids who are now grown-ups playing real life Monopoly with real hotels and houses, it's very hard to look out the window and see what's going on. It's really that simple. Now, how do we liberate ourselves from this game? Well, first we have to recognize that the penalty for losing is starvation. If you lose at the game of Monopoly of life, you get to starve to death. And that's a pretty horrific thing that we want to avoid. And my time is about to run up here. I want to respect the 4-minute limit, but basically by feeding everyone plant-based foods, we begin to liberate people from that horrific penalty of losing the all-day Monopoly game. And once we feed everyone ongoingly, I really believe it's going to change our minds and hearts and our view of what the world is and our view of who our fellow human beings are. The folks who bring us food every day. Wow, thank you, gratitude. Oh my goodness, I'm never going to starve even if I don't work. And regardless of the color of my skin or what country I'm in or my religion or anything else, yes, that's right. And then of course, and then the third pillar is what we're doing right here, conversation and a network of conversations, actual conversations about things that matter. I'm 30 seconds over time. Thank you for your patience. Next up is Dan, followed by Karen, followed by Diane. Take it away, Dan.
Okay, so I'll just, introduce myself kind of briefly. I'm somebody who, my area of expertise is probably psychology, psychotherapy, etc. I worked, I retired from the Chicago Department of Public Health in 2016. I did community mental health work, really in the trenches kind of stuff, for 23 years. I also gave presentations on mental health topics on behalf of the Chicago Department of Public Health. One other thing before I go into what I'm going to say here in a few minutes. I was also part of what we used to call the bioterror team. The Chicago Department of Public Health received a big infusion of federal funds back in around 2008, 2009. And so I was part of that. I participated in many ways until about 2015. Okay, so I do have, one of my areas of focus has been bioterror, that kind of a threat. So let me lay something out, which is actually one of the open houses that I sort of submitted here. It was called, it's called Exponential Climate Change, what Jamin was just talking about. Exponential, not linear, exponential. It's back against the wall time. Immoral depopulation strategies, immoral depopulation strategies, and then COVID-19. And so let me try to put this into a couple of minutes here. What I believe we're dealing with right now is people such as the famous or infamous Bill Gates, Klaus Schwab, the head of the Davos Group, the World Economic Forum, elites in China and other places. Basically, they understand that that's what we're in. We are in exponential climate change. Doesn't mean that, you know, Guy McPherson's 2026 is the limit. It could be a good deal of time more. It could be 2030, 2040. But the point is, it's happening very, very rapidly, and it brings with it very dystopian consequences before the end, if it does ever end. And so if you're someone like Bill Gates, who believes in exponential climate change, I think he's coming out with a book on climate change. He's promoting solar radiation management. He's got this guy, Ken Caldera, working with. Anyway, the point is, if that's where you're at, you're going to be thinking in a certain kind of a way, especially as Bill, I'm going to use Bill Gates has promoted the need for depopulation over and over and over again. And he's somebody who, you know, like you like to say about Trump, he's very narcissistic, he's very arrogant, he thinks he's smarter than everyone else, and he's got a lot of money to feed that. So here's what I think is going on. There's plenty of evidence, it's mostly been censored and suppressed, that COVID-19 is a genetically engineered virus. It appears to have been developed in Fort Detrick, University of North Carolina, here in the United States, then moved over to the Wuhan Virology Lab. And there it was accidentally released, or perhaps it was released on purpose. Now before, and let me just lay out this quick narrative. Yeah, I know. I think what is going on, if you want to depopulate the planet, there's only a couple of ways you can do it without having unacceptable blowback, wars, etc. That is to use bioweapons. We have over 13,000 scientists in the United States alone that are engaged in that kind of research. They are all under, you know, a penalty of who knows what if you reveal what you're doing. And so you have to use bioweapons and vaccines. And I just want to point something, last thing I'm going to say, this vaccine and what's been going on with COVID is very, very problematic. Jamin, I know I'm going to take I just want three things. So one of the problems with COVID is they've been using this PCR test to build up cases. The problem with the PCR test is there's something called an amplification cycle threshold. Briefly, if that amplification cycle threshold is above 30, you basically are going to start to get false positives like you cannot believe. What they've been doing is they've been using mostly a cycle threshold of 35, 40, 45, so that you have up to 90% false positives when you do that. They won't talk about that. It's a big problem. The second thing that's a problem with it is there are therapeutics which have been available all the way back in March. Do you want me to, let me just, I know, I won't say another word the rest of the time. Look, let me just get this out here because we're recording it. Okay, so the second thing about COVID-19 that's a big problem. There were therapeutics available back in March, essentially the hydroxychloroquine cocktail, which got shot down partly for political purposes when Trump gets up there and talks about it. What happened was there were two articles, one in the New England Journal of Medicine, the other in Lancet, highly prestigious medical journals. It was based on research carried out by this so-called firm here in Chicago called Surgisphere. The data was just BS. When doctors started to demand that they show them the data, those two prestigious journals took down the articles. They retracted them. That almost never happens. That never got publicized. So we've had therapeutics. Also, what people were never told by public health is that the usage of supplements such as vitamin D3, zinc, magnesium, vitamin C, there's a whole list that basically will strengthen your immune system to be very resistant to this particular virus. They have purposely not talked about that. So to summarize it all up, these are things which need to be looked at. It's not like I'm spouting conspiracy theory. No, what I'm spouting are things that I can show you resources, I can show you data, facts, essentially. And they shouldn't be dismissed because this is what's running our lives right now. Okay, I'm done. Thank you.
All righty. Thank you, Dan. Wow. So it looks like Donald Trump was right after all. Chlorine bleach. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, not to make light of what you're saying. And certainly no opinions will be suppressed here. And so, even however controversial. And that's one of the things I love about what we're doing here with the conversation and the press conference is everyone gets to share, and then everyone can go to whatever open houses they want to develop whatever conversations. Beautiful. All right. Well, I want to thank everyone for their patience. Welcome back, Dan, Dr. Dan, who's just arrived back from California. Welcome back. We are recording, and if anyone here, I'm just going to pause for a second. Karen, please take it away.
All right, I'm Karen. Thank you so much, everybody. I really did like hearing, Julie, how you spoke about the food forest, because in the little village I live in New Mexico, where I've lived for 4 years now, we just started a food forest. And I have 4 boys, and they wanted to not exchange Christmas gifts this year, but do something for the good of the whole. And they decided we bought 5 trees that will be planted in the food forest. And I share that because since I've come on the conversation earlier in 2020 and been a part of the Sign Network and Unity Week and all of these amazing conjunctions, I've noticed that I have really been living each day the truth of who I want to be in the world, from changing my eating habits to exchanging gifts like planting a tree. I am a family coach. My mission is to work with families to strengthen the heart of family, one soul at a time, and to work around the world and to be in family homes around the world. And I had written that down several years ago. I had no idea that 2020 would literally, through Zoom, bring me into so many more homes that I probably could have done on foot. And I've had the pleasure of being in Mongolia and in China and other places in these homes. But with Zoom, it took it to a whole new level. And I'm very passionate about the heart connection. So connecting to our own heart first. And I do a technique called Heart Thread that allows us to open space within our body, release trauma so that we're more connected to our own heart. That way we are able to connect to the vibration, the rhythm of earth. and then connect with our family units, our friends, whomever we're associating with, so that we're having heart-to-heart conversations, open-hearted living. So that's really my passion, is that we all remember that it's like, I call it the grand family reunion. We remember that we are all one family. And I, like each of you on this call, am passionate about serving and protecting our planet and every single living species on it. So I feel very honored to be here with you. I mentioned to Jamin earlier today, 2021 is just no more hunger on this earth, because there's no reason for it. We all know we have the resources. I'm doing my part in that. I just had to run an errand, and there was a man collecting money to end hunger and homelessness. And I asked him, do you think we can end hunger? And he said, no. And I asked him if he could explain. And then he said, well, it's up to God. And I guess I really don't know that answer. And I said, join us on these Food Friday conversations at theconversation.cc. And I said, and I can only believe and see that we will eradicate hunger, and starting there first is kind of the domino for my passion. So thank you so much.
So beautiful, Karen. Thank you. Oh my goodness. I think you were not here when Silas came and gave us an update, which they're now expanding the stew program, the vegan stew program that they started in Arizona very locally, that he started just total in his own kitchen. They're now expanding it to feed thousands of families in the Navajo Nation. And he has found a church with a big kitchen to crank out the stew. Oh, it's just so exciting. So it's happening, it's real, and wow.
Go Karen! Yay! I'm going to take off for a while, you guys. Love you.
Love you, Julie. Thanks so much for being here, sister. We'll see you soon. And thanks for
Bye.
all you do. All righty. Well, we've heard from pretty much everyone here. Diane is next in the queue. And if you want to be in the queue, whoever you are, just get my attention. Wave, raise your hand, type in the chat, or whatever. And, oh yes, Claire. Claire is in the queue, followed by Dr. Daniel. All righty. And Diane, please take it away.
Okay, I'm quite surprised to be here, let alone be talking. I haven't done it. I'm in England, by the way. I'm in the UK. I'm in London. So and I just came to turn the computer off because it's kind of bedtime. But there was this the link to here, and I thought, oh, look at that. and so that's okay. Just come and join in for a second or two, see what's going on. But I felt to say something. Something was in my head to say to anybody. So it just happens to be you. I don't know if this is a danger zone. And it's just a thought, therefore. I'm going to tell you what happened. Donald, your man over there. There were, not your man, obviously. But one of the people over there. There's 70 million of them, isn't there? We've got a real problem worldwide. But anyway, quickly, talk. The last night, I'm part of Humanity Rising, and there was a letter from one of the people who said, what's going on? This is a real freak out. And to the point where I wrote a separate letter, not in the chat, to them to say, there's something you can do about it. And it's tapping, it's EFT. We've had a lesson on it. I'm actually qualified at it anyway. And I thought, I mean, it's airy-fairy, but it's about the bigger picture. It's about energy. And therefore, you begin the tapping thing. I tapped for Donald last night, even though And tonight on the BBC News, we're a million miles away, and the news is kind of not even straight from America. We don't get the real message, I'm sure. But what Donald had said was, even though and he stopped playing his naughty game. And I just thought, oh, wow, now for that to be a reality, it made a difference what I did. It's highly unlikely. I do understand. My daughters would say I'm crazy. It's all airy-fairy, Mum. But I don't care. As long as I was doing even though, and Donald has now said even though, and the trouble is slightly stopped. For me, the bigger picture of that is that we could actually save the world with that kind of thing. We could do tapping for anybody who's a disturbed person. There's millions of them. And it takes me to the second part of my message, which is something that you were saying, Jamin, which is about Monopoly, the game of Monopoly. Even thinking it don't even have the word. I won't have the C, you know, that nasty bug word, because really it's part of evolution that's going on. Mother Nature is stronger than any of us. The naughty game is what you were talking about, Monopoly. And as long as you're playing any kind of that game, as long as you even think about it, you're playing that game. The way to not play that game and therefore not have starvation as well, same game, but we're playing the opposite side, is to actually, there's plenty of food. It's about redistribution. We just need to distribute it badly. And therefore, I'm sorry to say this last bit. I might leave immediately afterwards because you might all want to shoot me. But I don't think just plant-based. I think any life force that is treated properly, as long as we poison our carrots, they are as badly treated as the pigs and the cows. We need to be treating all the living creatures, the rocks, the mountains, the pigs, the cows, the carrots, the cabbages, all of them with the same respect and love. We don't chemicalize anything. And if we treat everything on a very low level agro thing, fruit, yeah, I'm going to stop talking now. I can see it, maybe it's not a good thing to say. But yeah, I don't believe in total plant-based. We've got to have more than that. It's okay. I don't think 3 times a day chemicalized genetic meat and all that nasty thing. But I do think I'd have a sheep in my garden, or my brother, if he wants me to eat him, then I will. You know, any life force is okay. I'm sorry to tell you. I'm going to stop talking.
Wow.
I could go on for longer, obviously, but I won't.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
thank you, Diane. And, you know, I just, to clarify a point I made earlier, no opinions will be suppressed here, you know, within reason. And actually, when I say within reason, let me just editorialize on that for a moment as the moderator, using my moderator's license before we continue on in the queue. But when I say within reason, that reason or that set of standards or ethics that are applicable, obviously, if someone comes here and, you know, wants to make a racist remark, they would be booted out of the room literally within about 1 second. They wouldn't be tolerated. And fortunately, over the course of the years that we've been doing this, we've only had to boot people about 3 or 4 times, excluding the Zoom bombing attacks that used to be prevalent about a year, a little less than a year ago. So the only caveat I want to say is, if the culture emerges and evolves to such an extent that it literally becomes simply not okay to talk about killing and eating animals, just like it's not okay to be racist here, that could change. But for the moment, you're absolutely welcome to express your opinions and views, including about eating animals, because the reality is, the way I see it, there are kind of shades of gray along that spectrum. An egg, for example, is not yet a sentient being, and there are very humane ways of raising eggs. For instance, this is just my view. Hopefully the vegans won't start getting on my case about that, or if they want to, please do. But anyway, I just wanted to editorialize.
Can I just, I'll be very brief.
Yeah.
Reply on that level. I've gone through certain processes that have led, I don't just think, eating animals is okay. I've actually been through all sorts of processes. I'm actually quite old now. So I've met lots of people and gone through lots of stages in my life where it's absolutely questionable whether to eat if anything with a face. Lots of my friends are, you don't eat anything with a face, even to the extreme of honey and total veganism. You know, within my family, I've got vegans. So, but one day, for one of my early lessons, when I was really questioning, is this right or not? And my husband, I'd arrived back on a plane, and the only person I could talk to was going to be my husband. My husband telephoned the place I was, which was miles away from somewhere completely different. And what had happened to him was a pheasant had just hit the telephone wire above him, or a couple of hours beforehand. He could only talk for a minute, but therefore, because he had this pheasant in a pot. Now, for me, that pheasant had landed at his feet on that moment, on that day, as a gift. You know, it was there to be, and it's that kind of policy that makes me see that there are some times when it's okay to eat meat. You know, you just need to have a bit of a fun to just blanket ban any. I just don't think blanket bans on anything are okay. I think, like you said, the shades of grey. Shades of grey. So I'm not blanket banning. I'm also not. I definitely wouldn't do factory farming. But the reason I said it is because tonight on my emails, if I can see them, I've got a thing from some kind of agro. No, I won't be able to be quick enough with it. But an agro, some kind of abattoirs, where the personal, very small farms can have abattoirs. I know it's a bit of a dodgy conversation, but it's valid in my universe. So there you go. I will stop there. Good conversation one day, though. Eh?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And by the way, also taking my moderator's license, is the basic idea that one of the basic ideas of the press conference is that you can expound upon, talk about such an idea for 4 minutes or whatever, and then invite people to join you in what we call an open house. Could be a one-time open house, could be recurring.
It's fun. I came on the first day, on the opening day. I came and I didn't know what to say, but therefore I said what has been my lifetime. I wanted to be prime minister, but I cannot. Jesus never made it. Gandhi never made it. I'll do one person at a time, which is exactly what you said just now, Karen. One person at a time. You're going to one family at a time. I've done a whole lifetime of that, so I'm still doing one person at a time. So I have to drop other stuff. However, I do think that, but therefore the one thing that cropped up after I'd said my little thingy, I wrote it out and read it, and one thingy cropped up, and I thought, oh, I'll come back on another day and do the vegan conversation. And I thought, maybe not, but there you go, I've done it now. I've done half of it.
Yeah, very good, very good.
And it came up with its own accord, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. And so it's perfectly fine to do a 4-minute teaser and then say, hey, please join me for an open house where we can go into it in depth. Good stuff. All righty. Thank you so much, Dan. Moving right along, we have Claire next in the queue, followed by Dr. Daniel. And if you would like to be in the queue, just get my attention. All right. Claire, please take, and I see Dan, who went double duty last time. So if there's others in the queue, we're going to let them go first until we've gone all the way around the room. And so and in fact, Jamin is going to put himself in the queue again. So we have Claire, followed by Dr. Daniel. Take it away, Claire.
So I realized that I might like to ask people how I can publicize my books because, for example, Sunchild, it's like a children's book, but it's really for children of all ages. It's about a little girl who wanted everybody to be happy. She was born very sunny, and she watched when the rains came and that there was thunder, and she saw that the clouds were angry, and she didn't like that. So she used to throw sun drops at them, and they would play catch, and they would turn into rainbows, and they would stop crying. And one day she sat under a tree and fell asleep, and some sun beings came to her and said, we know what your wish is to make everybody happy, and we can help you. She said, how? This is in her dream. And they said, well, you have a favorite game. She said, yeah, catch. She said, well, we can teach you how to play catch without throwing anything. What? How can you play catch without throwing anything? We can teach you how to beam. So beam from your heart, beam from your eyes, beam from everywhere in you. So that's my story, and I'm getting it reprinted. There she is, beaming. And this one is called 7 Meditations for Children. And the topics are Good Morning Sun. So that's a kind of, almost like a yoga, greeting the sun in the morning. I love the second meditation is I love the universe loves me. And the third one's really significant. The whole tree is in the heart of the seed, and the whole of you is in the seed. The little tiny you has the whole of you, like an oak tree has right in the acorn. So I talk about that. And the fourth is make friends with yourself. And the fifth is I'm a friend to all life, because that was actually a song I created after becoming a vegetarian. And look up admire people that are doing wonderful things, and forgiving as an act of courage. And here's the illustrations. I didn't do these illustrations. I illustrated all my other books, but my daughter-in-law's father illustrated this one. So this is some of the little animals he drew pictures of. And I can't find it. I wanted to show you my book called This Call of Mother Earth, which I shared the other day. And but it's like such an important, relevant topic, and I am getting that one reprinted as well. And it's the call of Mother Earth. She's calling out for help, and the subtitle is How a Being of Light Draws Forth Humanity's Response. So the being of light comes down, says to Mother Earth, don't worry, take a rest. I will come to your planet. And she puts on layers of light that can be seen. And so she comes to the top of a mountain, and on a moonless night, and she's so full of light, the villagers say, what is that? Somebody goes up to the top of the mountain and asks her, what are you doing here? She said, I answered the call of Mother Earth. He said, how can I help? I love Mother Earth. Bring your villagers up. So next day, he brings the villagers up halfway, and she meets them, and she tells them how to heal Mother Earth. And how do you think she says it? She tells them to express their appreciation from their hearts to Mother Earth, how much they love Mother Earth, how much they're gaining, how much they love to, how sorry they are they've neglected her, and they're appreciating. And each time one speaks, some little symbol or some little symbolic gesture, they feel Mother Earth responding, like a little rumble or a little dew coming down from the sky, or something happens. And then finally, she feels strong enough. So the being of light says, well, why don't you ask Mother Earth for her message? And she gives her message. She does give her message. And it's all about walk lightly on this earth. Don't try to take so much, ask the seeds where they want to be planted before you plant them. And then they begin to live her message. And they sit, the villagers, 3 times a day together in a circle. They have circles, and then they meditate. And so then she moves on to another part of the planet, and she teaches other people. So this is like Khalil Gibran's The Prophet. At the end, he went on to the next place. So I just wondered if anybody has ways to publicize these books, because the last time I had a printer print these books, I accepted from them a publicist and a TV ad. I paid for it. I paid much too much for it, and I never got either one because they scammed me. So that's why I have to reprint these books so that they come out looking different. And I don't have the copies. They're not on Amazon anymore, which is fine with me. But they are in audio form, though. So I am reprinting with a very lovely printer, but she says that you can't print less than 75 copies of each one. So I'm gonna have a lot of copies to share, and I'm happy to give them away or make them part of a fundraiser or whatever. And I have a lot of other books. If you look me up, you'll find them. So that's kind of one of the other ways I like to reach out. And I used to read some of my books, at nursing homes and various places, read my poetry. I have a lot of poetry collections. These are just children's stories. So I like to put the values that I have, into these stories, because I think children need to be inspired and educated in this way. And I would love to, converse with anyone that would want to talk to me about any of this. So I didn't even use up my 4 minutes. This is exciting.
Well, actually, you did.
Oh, and you didn't tell me.
I didn't have the heart to hold up.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you. I'm going to have to leave very soon because my program that I'm facilitating one of the chapters of the book, Braiding Sweetgrass, we meet on Zoom now for a group meeting.
Wow. Well, very good. I will mention that there are a number of folks who have either done self-publishing or are interested in that. So we might even start just like a weekly sort of media, citizens media kind of group. I mean, what we're doing right here with the press conference.
Yeah, it
the
is.
Citizens Press Conference, right? And we're all co-creating it together. And in fact, everyone is welcome to contribute to the very architecture and design of what this is, right? Very notably, Julie and Malini and others have stepped up to contribute to that, and it's evolving very quickly and in beautiful directions. So welcome, welcome. And if you want to help organize or co-organize a recurring open house on media and self-publishing and whatnot, absolutely supportive.
Oh, thank you for organizing this, and it's lovely to meet everyone.
Wonderful. Thank you for making it special, Claire.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful. All righty. And when you need to go, no problem. Feel free to come and go as you please, everyone. And next up in the queue, we have Dr. Daniel, followed by Jamin. And Dan, I know you're there as well. Other Dan, Dan Bader. So Dr. Daniel, welcome. Great to have you back, and excited to hear what you got to share.
Great. I'd like to acknowledge this as a really wonderful opportunity for the world. And so I'd like to just take a moment and say thank you. It's beautiful. So what I got from one of the most important things I've learned is that the number one existential threat to the world is global warming. We have these other things that are going on, such as Black Lives Matter, crazy politics, the pollution of our environment, and all the suffering going around. But you know, this is what we really need to deal with up front and center. And so my job, I have a couple of jobs, but one of them is to help my patients rediscover their innate ability to heal. And I work with medical professionals to teach them to become healers that their patients in the world is longing for. Here comes the fire truck. I'm gonna go hide for a second, maybe. Go back in the closet. Just a second.
By the way, it's not too oppressive for us. So on our
All
account,
right.
don't worry too much.
Okay, so this may be better. I'm in my closet where I belong. So when I work with people, sometimes it gets to a point was, why would I care about you being alive? Why does your life like value that you can even suck oxygen out of the environment? What is this? And then I do the turnaround and I say, this is not Daniel speaking. This is your body speaking to you. That the body actually is part of a system where people have to have a reason to suck air and to breathe and to exist. That's how the human is designed. And if you're not doing that, then your body's going to rebel and will keep the score and will say no. You get sick. So part of the recovery, part of the innate way to heal is to have a big reason, a reason that's in line with your thinking, your heart, and your actions, which includes speaking. All those have to be aligned, what we would call an aini. And if it's true that each human is a representation of the globe, that's also a global mandate. And so when I work with people to have them give the gift of themselves, which is their purpose, then they all of a sudden start healing and being in right relationship, and things just fall into place. So when we're dealing with these existential problems on Earth, such as we need to save the Earth, we need to save humans, and part of it is say, well, why do we need to do that? Unless, we are like valuable members of this earth. Earth will survive, people may not. So this is a call to action for people to be in right relationship, to become not normal, but healthy, and to have a reason, the big reason for their hearts to beat. And this is highly effective with patients and with other professional people to work that way. And so that's my message.
Wow. Beautiful, Daniel. Beautiful.
Yeah.
I love all your messages and all your sharing, and I'm so glad you're a part of it. I'm
Yeah.
so glad all of us are a part of this.
Yeah, I think that message doesn't get out. Everybody's saying, let's save the world, and I'm saying, well, why? People talk about longevity, and I say, well, why do you want to live longer? And that has to be part of it. That's part of the healing and part of being healthy human beings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Beautiful. Beautiful. Oh,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you. All right. And it looks like Karen has to roll in a couple of minutes. Karen, any parting words before you go? No pressure.
Just thank you all. I'm glad we're doing this. And Diane, I do believe that you made that impact with EFT. And that is my core belief, that as we hold this vibration and live this vibration of love, it ripples out and it's impacting and we're seeing it. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Can I speak here briefly? It fits with what Daniel was saying as well. There's one piece of energy basically, and it's all of us. We're all the same thing. We're all part of one big whole, one drop of water in the ocean. Easy. Keep ourselves clean and beautiful and full of love, and it'll all spread and save the whole planet.
Wow. Wow. I totally agree. And building off of what the three of you have just said, Daniel, Karen, and Diane, is a belief I have, and a philosopher friend of mine repeatedly tells me, why tell them when you can show them, right? And, we talk about how we're all valuable and heart frequency, and we all need to, and I see Daniel needs to go in a couple of minutes as well. And so, by the way, just feel free to come and go as you please. It really just, it's an open forum here. And in that respect, why tell them when you can show them? There is something I believe that will be revealed to all of us, and we'll all see in a whole new way when everyone is fed, when we're all eating 3 meals a day, wholesome plant-based foods, no chemicals, thank you, Diane, and quite possibly no animals or animal products. I don't know. We'll see. That's all up for discussion, conversation, and it's for us to co-create. And I believe when we're all eating together, I think we'll have a whole new experience of each other, of life on Earth, of our brother and sister species, of all other sentient beings. Imagine when you can look every sentient being in the eye and they don't have to be afraid of you, and you don't have to be afraid of them, right? So why tell them when you can show them? And I think it's going to be so easy to make this spread like wildfire. Once we do it in one city, like we've talked about starting in Los Angeles, and now I'm going to jump into my own segment. I happen to be the next in the queue, so I'll time myself. But with food healers, and then Dan Bader, I know you've been waiting patiently, and thank you for that. With food healers, the idea is that we, mass produce in every given urban area, large or small, mass produce whole food plant-based stew with an appropriate side dishes, but the core of it would be this super nutritious stew, complete nutrition that we can mass produce and truck around to everyone. I'm going to be reaching out to Elon Musk and ask him if we can use the Tesla truck with a super cool space age looking trailer pulled behind it, loaded with tons of the stew, and distribute it all over the city, all over town. Imagine if we did that in Los Angeles as a demonstration project, for example, right? Word would spread what's going on. It would be so delicious. And it'll help stop the spread of COVID. People won't have to leave their homes to get food if they don't want to. And we'll all just have this experience of all eating, together. Not all in the same location, but, all eating the same delicious, nutritious plant-based stew. And I just, every time you've gone to some event or something where everyone is fed, whether it's a wedding or a ceremony, whatever, just that wonderful feeling that we're all eating together, right? I think we'll have a whole different experience of life. And I think we will see each other and Mother Earth in a whole new way. So, and likewise, it'll again liberate us from this brutal all-day Monopoly game that even when you're winning, yeah, part of you feels good, but part of you really feels badly, because in your winning, somebody else is losing. That's just the way the game is set up right now. And we become addicted to our winnings, material and otherwise, status, ego, etc. So I believe that only by raising the floor from starvation as the ultimate penalty for losing the game to everyone eats, you won't fall below eating 3 meals a day. We simply won't let you fall below that. And what does Daniel say? If you win at the rat race, you're still a rat. Exactly. And I also believe that once we've fed everyone and ongoingly, and I believe in my heart we will get there very soon. We can get there in 2 weeks if we put our minds and hearts to it. That will start a series of dominoes falling. It's like, hey, if we can do that for food, why not do it for shelter, right? Melissa and I were driving through Seattle yesterday, and we saw some of the tent cities and tent clusters, and it's just appalling that we let our sisters and brothers live in such squalor. And so food, shelter, healthcare, transportation, access to books, internet materials, laundry, showers, et cetera, just all the basics that most of us take for granted. If everyone has all that, what a world. And we'll be able to say, wait a second, so now you mean I don't have to participate in this rat race anymore, this all-day Monopoly game to try to survive or pump up my ego or whatever the game may be for me? No, you don't have to. I mean, I suppose you can if you want. It's not like we're going to, prohibit money any more than we should prohibit alcohol or cannabis, however harmful those substances may be. But by giving people a way to live where they don't have to play that game if they don't want to, right? So I believe that when we achieve those conditions of eradicating hunger, homelessness, lack of medical care, et cetera, that we meet all these basic needs, then people will really be able to breathe a sigh of relief. I can break away from this brain damaging all-day Monopoly game and get on with the real living that's right in front of us, cooling the planet, healing Mother Earth, healing and protecting our sister and brother species and ecosystems. So that is my inspiration for the moment. And I see that Diane says, agree that food is a way to share and live together, but not so sure about 3 meals a day. To be discussed, fair enough. Also, a television program recently here in the UK was wonderful, showed people from many nations sharing their diverse foods, an act of unity. Absolutely, I love it. And in fact, we could have different variations of stew, obviously, right? Everything from the spicy exotic British stew, just kidding, to, the more mild Latin American varieties, just kidding, those are the spicy ones. No, but I mean, every culture has their own, things to contribute, and we need to experience and have all this made available to us and get to know each other through food. What a beautiful thing. All righty. With that, I'm going to turn it over to my old friend and brother, Dan Bader, who's always got good, exciting things to say. So Dan, please take it away.
Thank you, Jamin. So I guess I'm going to try to build off what Jamin just said rather than going back to something I was talking about before, although it may come into the few minutes that I have. So when I used to do community mental health work, one of the things that was really important to emphasize to people was that aside from emotion management, learning how to respectfully set interpersonal boundaries, that kind of thing, the environmental circumstances that a person lives in is very, very important. And I used to talk about 4 need areas: financial stability, emotional support, community involvement, and individual development. And what I would try to teach was, say, building off of what Jamin was saying about the food, if you have a lack of financial stability, so say you don't really know whether you've got enough money to be able to put food on the table at the end of the month, maybe you don't have clothes for yourself or your children, whatever you want to define as the necessities of life. If you don't have that, you're going to suffer chronic emotional pain. And I used to differentiate between chronic emotional pain and just everyday emotional pain in response to what was going on. And I would say chronic emotional pain is when your needs aren't being met. And if you have a lack of financial stability, material stability, then you're likely to be feeling some negative emotionality. A lot of times it'll be a mix of anxiety, am I going to have what I need? Do I have what's going to happen to me? Will I have a roof over my head? Or it will be kind of frustration, anger, because you're very upset over the kinds of conditions that you're living under. When you have this kind of chronic negative emotionality, in addition to what you get day to day, just dealing with people, what happens is you're either at a certain point going to suffer a breakdown, an actual runaway breakdown, or you're going to find ways to partially anesthetize this pain. And the way people do it in the communities that I'm very familiar with, they drink alcohol, they use drugs, and to some degree, it keeps the pain day to day at a level where you don't end up having a complete breakdown most of the time. But it's important to understand that in our society, as Jamin is pointing out, that we have so much poverty, and there's a lot more that's coming, because this lockdown connected with COVID is essentially wrecking the middle class, lower middle class, whatever terms you want to use. It's basically putting people down for a long time. And people will suffer breakdowns as the deprivation starts to set in. So I think it's important to be able to have people have the feeling, I can get the food I need, I can get the support I need, and to also be able to have some sort of an income where people can have a sense of I still have the choice of how I'm going to spend my money, this kind of thing. I don't have to line up and get my food in the way that a lot of people have to now. So I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and I think it's underappreciated how much rolls out of so many of the social problems roll out of people being subjected to this horrible chronic emotional pain that so many people are in. Most of us are suffering emotional pain of various sorts just by dealing with other human beings day after day, and all of that. So I do think that it's something which is kind of missed, and politicians and the people who unfortunately have the power they don't like to look at those kind of realities and connect it. Everybody likes to talk about mental health. There's so many, people suffering mental health problems, blah, 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 but they don't like to look at the environmental underpinnings of it and to really talk about that. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there, trying to keep the conversation, going in as one conversation. So I'm going to check out now. Let somebody else step in.
Very good. Yeah, good stuff, Dan. Thank you. Thank you. And Diane, yeah.
Actually, what you were saying is exactly right, in that you're saying really that each person is an emotional creature. It's their emotions that get people down, not so much whether they've had enough food to eat or live in good conditions. It's whether they feel good. You can be really poor and have hardly anything to eat and still be quite happy, actually. And so if you sort out people's emotions, and that's why what I came in on, EFT, emotional freedom technique, it actually releases you from, it teaches everybody can be a happy bunny, in other words. We don't need that much food. We don't need to have, to be honest, the whole system needs to be sorted again. So you'd have a universal basic income, for example. So everybody's got a small amount of money, but you don't all need loads of money. You certainly don't need to be playing Monopoly. But therefore, life is about whether you've got somebody you love, whether you love yourself, actually, would be the first thing. If you love yourself, you love the sunshine, you love the rain, and maybe get a bit of dinner every now and then from a neighbour with a bit of luck. Is what happens to me. Yeah. Okay. Quiet now, right?
No, beautiful, beautiful. Emotional freedom technique. That's powerful stuff. Because and this makes me think of Wayne Dyer and an example he wrote in one of his books. I think it was Erroneous Zones, where he gave a hypothetical example. Suppose that you are feeling terrible and very frustrated because your boss thinks you're stupid. Okay. Now, he pointed out, what if you did not know that your boss thought you were stupid, right? Then you wouldn't go around fretting about it, right? Your boss could very well think that you're stupid. Your boss could have that thought. But if you didn't know that, you wouldn't be suffering because of it. So it's not that your boss thinks you're stupid. It's that you think or know. What's the difference? Good question. That your boss thinks you're stupid. And so if it's not that fact that's hurting you, but your own perception or awareness that's hurting you, then what can you do to shift your perception or shift your awareness? I mean, you could take a whole different take on it, which is, oh my goodness, what a wonderful opportunity to share with my boss who I really am and not some misperception that they have of me. Or, wow, what an opportunity to do X, Y, or Z within this very temporary context that my boss thinks I'm stupid, because if they think I'm stupid, they're not going to have so many demands on me or whatever. Who knows? I'm just saying there's so many different ways of framing and changing your awareness, shifting your awareness. And then this makes me think of someone who I'm not super crazy about, but did say something interesting once that caught my attention, which is Tony Robbins. And he said, 3 questions. What are you going to focus on? Focus, right? What are you going to make it mean? Meaning making. We're meaning making machines. And then finally, what are you going to do about it? Right? So we have all this power and all this leverage. First of all, to focus. Second of all, to reframe, make meaning. And third of all, to take action and be powerful. Here on my printer on my desk, I have something that my life coach years ago told me to put everywhere, which is big bold letters, powerful or victim. And that at any moment in life, we have a choice.
Problem or solution.
Pardon me?
Problem or solution.
There
You
you
are
go.
alive either way. So if you're not part of the problem, or if you're not part of the solution, you're automatically part of the problem.
Yeah. So I love what you said about emotional freedom technique. And
Emotional freedom technique. I will elaborate slightly on that, just very briefly, of course, in that one of the first sentences in this special book about it says, this is about a technique that is about healing it's the ground floor level of a tower block of healing for the 21st century. So meaning this is only the beginning of finding out, and actually the illumination, if you like, that comes with, you realize that state of mind that you said, a similar thing in Nichiren Shoshu Buddhism that I read, very similar, that said, in the morning you wake up one day, you feel perfectly normal, a letter comes through the post. It's from your bank manager. It says that you've just been given a special bonus for whatever amount and you feel really happy. Or you wake up one morning feeling quite happy, everything's okay, and you get a letter from your bank manager and it says you've been fined a certain amount of money, you're going to be charged. No. Either way, whichever one of those happens, it actually nothing has happened. You have received a letter. It's ridiculous to be affected by any of it. So therefore, get your head together, sort out what's actually really going on, sort out your emotional things. The reason why EFT, emotional freedom technique, is so clever is because it's confined without you confronting that thing. Even there's a tearless trauma technique, so you can deal with trauma without actually thinking about it, and you can kind of even it out. You can smooth out the wrinkles so that you're again a happy bunny eventually. World can be full of happy bunnies, and even for the people who can't do it, like last night with Donald, because this other, I would consider the lady to be a friend of mine. I only know her via Zoom, but I really like her a lot. But because she was saying, oh, I'm really disturbed, I just felt that I had to go to bed and tap for two things. First of all, to tap for her to be peaceful again. We're hopefully doing something to do with the Department for Peace. And she was saying we need to be peaceful. So I tapped for her to be peaceful, and I tapped for Donald to get rid of some of his stroke. I mean, I really became Donald Trump. It was weird lying in bed doing Donald Trump's voice. Luckily, I like acting, shall we say. So I was lying in bed, and first of all, I became the lady, and I was thinking, God, my voice is just as if she's speaking to me. And then I moved into Donald. And then tonight, just before I came here, there he was on the news saying, even though I thought, oh my goodness, isn't life wonderful, eh? Yeah, but EFT therefore, a real, like I say, ground floor of a healing tower for the 21st century. Wonderful stuff.
Wow. Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.
My goodness. I love what we're doing here.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's funny because I haven't joined in on any of the things since before Christmas, and it's just really lovely to be back and feeling alive.
Isn't it? Isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. No, and it's the kind of thing that once you get into it, it's just so delicious and
there's definitely something special going on in the planet at the moment. For me, I see it as a process of evolution. And that's why the Monopoly game is kind of nowhere. It's very small in the history from the beginning of mankind, you know. And at the moment, we're in a kind of a chrysalis stage where we're understanding that the ripples that go out are going to affect it. You know, we're becoming the butterfly. But how are we can we be born? Can we do birth without violence? Another process that I learned about whilst having the 6 children. Yeah, you can do it without any pain.
Wow.
But it's the planet. Imagine that if we can birth a new human being where we're all understanding that there's one piece of energy and we need to look after all of it. And, you know, we look after each other and don't do chemicals on the planet and don't poison the oceans and make sure everybody's had a bit of dinner. 3 meals a day, maybe, if you like. 5 meals a day, even if necessary. We can vary, can't we? Yeah. There's prospects though, isn't there? Definitely prospects.
Yeah. Wow. All right, I'm going to pause recording for a moment.